The next thing for us to look at is our orchestral percussion hits. All we've added is some EQ to reshape the sound to our mix. Let's take a listen. As you can hear, we've thinned out the sound a lot. With the high pass, low shelf, and the high shelf, we're essentially just tilting the tonal prominence towards the treble end of the sound. Then we have added the low pass, again to soften up the highs so we avoid any harshness building at the top. Between the bass and the Bowron drum, we have enough going on in the lows, so controlling the lows here is quite important because it's going to allow it to punch through and have a bit more impact instead of fighting with those instruments which have already established their place in the mix. After going over the processing on our orchestral hits, I decided a little more could be squeezed out of it by adding some saturation and compression. I'll show you the setup process live this time so you can hear how it changed the sound. For me, the saturation rounds out the sound overall by introducing those new harmonics. It's also tucking in the initial attack a little bit, which brings us to the FG stress, where we're going to be adding some of that point back into the attack by using a slow attack setting. We're also giving the percussion hit more sustain by setting the release so it releases in tandem with the decay of each hit. So as the hits tail off naturally, essentially the compressor is going to open up and let that gain come back, which is going to give us a fatter sound, which will allow us to hear it a little bit better in the mix. We're also using a 6:1 ratio, which is going to give us a nice aggressive, obvious type of compression. We're using the high pass on the detector because we want the stress to react more to the upper frequencies so that it reacts more to those transients, the transient detail. And finally, we have the distortion 2 checked, so we get a little bit more subtle harmonic thickening.